Hi guys, welcome back to Sandy Hill Camp around the world. Welcome back to day 2 of Scotland. My name's Lewis, and today we're going to be taking a look through some of the top places and top things you can do and see if you ever happen to come to Scotland. Okay, so yesterday I asked if you could name Scotland's national animal. Now, this was filmed in advance, so I have no idea how many people commented with answers. I'm going to assume that there's about 200 people that commented with answers. I'm also going to assume that all of you got it wrong, so that's unfortunate, and better luck next time. But I can now confirm that Scotland's national animal is in fact the unicorn. Yeah, that's right. Scotland just looked at a list of all the real animals and we were like, no, that's not good enough for us. We want a unicorn. And that's how it happened. So, there's something you didn't know. Scotland's national animal is the unicorn. So one place that you could visit if you came to Scotland is in Edinburgh, and it's Edinburgh Castle. So Scotland has quite a few castles dotted all around the place, but one of the biggest ones, one of the main ones, is Edinburgh Castle. Now, Edinburgh Castle is a fortress that's actually been around since the 12th century, and we think David I started in this castle. And then until the 15th century, it was used as a royal castle. So whoever was king or queen at the time would quite often come down to Edinburgh Castle, and that would be where they live. From about the 17th century though, the royal family started using it a little bit less, and then it just turned into a military barracks. So Edinburgh Castle, and I can tell you this from someone who lives in Edinburgh right now, actually dominates the skyline in Edinburgh, and no matter where you are, as long as there's no other big building in your way, you can see Edinburgh Castle just reaching across the Edinburgh skyline, which is really cool. So I spoke a little bit about kilts yesterday, and about how often people use them here in Scotland, and quite often people don't really know where a kilt comes from. So one thing that you could come and see when you're in Scotland is sheep. Now I'm sure you guys have seen sheep in the US, but our sheep here in Scotland are a little bit different. Our sheep quite often grow with tartan wool instead of white wool. Now I'm not 100% sure if this is true, but legend has it these sheep will just grow in all different kinds of tartan, and there's loads of different kinds of tartan. And my last name is Campbell, for example, and there's actually tartan that's named after us. So that's the kind of tartan that you'll see on my kilt if I wear it tomorrow. So that's one thing that you could see if you came to Scotland. There's actually a few near me and a little farm. So tartan sheep, that's something that you won't see in the US, so that's something that you should definitely come and see if you come and visit Scotland. Okay, so if you're lucky enough to come to Scotland, one thing that you might get to try, and even see if you're lucky, is something called haggis. Now haggis is a dish that we have traditionally once a year on Burns Night, which is a night that we celebrate a Scottish poet named Robert Burns. And this is normally served as haggis, neeps and tatties. So haggis is just our haggis, neeps is a Scottish word for turnips, and tatties is a Scottish word for potatoes. So we'll have this once a year. So as well as haggis being a dish that everybody loves to eat in Scotland, legend has it that haggis is also an animal that lives up in the Scottish Highlands. Now living in the Scottish Highland means that you're living on an awful lot of hills, very steep, all over the place. So hopefully when you're looking at this picture of a haggis just now, if you look closely, you'll notice that there's actually 2 legs on one side longer than the other 2 legs on the other side. So this is because, if you imagine living on a hill, if all your legs were the same size, when you're walking along the hill you're kind of be out at a diagonal angle. So it's got 2 legs that are shorter, so when it's running it can be upright on the hill, and it can run in a straight line all around the hill without getting too tired. So this is an animal that you're never actually going to see anywhere outside of Scotland, totally native to us. So if you come to Scotland, you may just be lucky enough to see a wild haggis. So if you go up to the Scottish Highlands to maybe try and find a haggis, another thing that you might be lucky enough to come across is Highland Cow, or Highland Coo, or maybe even Highland Cattle. Now, most countries have cows, but Scotland, being Scotland, we've decided to take it up a level, and we've got a Highland Cow. Now a Highland Cow looks kind of similar to what your normal cow would look like. You can see that it's got really long, quite often gingerish hair, and it's also got really big horns on the side of its head. So Highland Cow is something else that you're just not going to see outside of Scotland. So one other thing that you should definitely come and see if you're ever in Scotland is Loch Ness. Now I'm sure you've all heard of Loch Ness for some various reasons that I'm going to go on to in a second, But Loch Ness is a massive freshwater loch. It's about 37 kilometres or 23 miles wide, and its deepest point is 230 metres or 755 foot. Loch Ness is actually the biggest loch in the world, with a surface area of 71 square kilometres, and it's also got 7,452 million cubic metres of water inside of it. So it's definitely something worth looking at. Okay, so with over 7 million cubic metres of water in Loch Ness, that means that there's a lot of space for something big to hide. Now I'm sure that you've all heard of the Loch Ness Monster. So the Loch Ness Monster, legend says that it lives somewhere in Loch Ness. Loads of people think that it could be a dinosaur, but all we know is that it's a large, long-necked animal, and it's got a few humps on its back. Loads of people have claimed to have seen Nessie in and around Loch Ness. Some people even say that they've seen footprints out and about in Loch Ness. So if you ever come to Scotland, you may be one of those lucky people that get to see Loch Ness. One other thing that you might see, or rather hear, if you come to Scotland is bagpipes. Bagpipes music has been around in Scotland for centuries. In fact, we think that it started about the 15th century, people started using bagpipes. Bagpipes, you see it all over US television as well. A lot of people associate that with Scotland, and this one's actually true. Quite often if you're walking through maybe Edinburgh or any of the other big cities in Scotland, on most corners, especially on busy days, especially at the weekend, you're going to see someone playing the bagpipes, maybe busking. So look out for that when you come to Scotland. It's a great thing to hear. Okay, so yesterday I asked you to try and name Scotland's national animal, and I have another question for you for tomorrow morning. This one's more of a multiple choice. I want you to tell me which one of these 4 things is true. So which one of these 4 facts is true? Fact number 1. Small Scots town called Bonnybridge is actually the UFO capital of the world. So it's a small town in Scotland which is the UFO capital of the world. Number 2. Edinburgh was the first city in the world, so the capital of Scotland was the first city in the world to have its own fire department. Question number 3. There are as many people with Scots heritage living in the US as there is in Scotland. So that means there's as many people with Scottish parents or Scottish grandparents living in the US as there is in Scotland. And number 4. Scotland is home to the world's tallest hedge. So which one of these facts is true? The UFO capital of the world, that Edinburgh was the first city to have its own fire brigade, there's as many Scots people with Scots heritage in the US as there is in Scotland, or that Scotland is home to the world's tallest hedge. Give that one a go and I'll let you know the answer tomorrow.